This is a video all about farts. So do I have to warn you not to put random fart noises in while I'm talking? Put lots of random fart noises in while I'm talking because it's fucking funny. It's often said that fart jokes are the laziest form of humour, right next to quoting Family Guy instead of making an original observation and the show Family Guy. The film Blazing Saddles sought to challenge this unfair stereotype by including what has been called the Citizen Kane of fart jokes, something apparently TV stations of the time couldn't deal with. If you're not familiar with that scene or the film itself, Blazing Saddles is a satirical swipe at old westerns and their mythologising of the cowboy lifestyle, written by comedic juggernaut Mel Brooks. The film is famous for a few things. The scene where a guy cold cocks a horse, its repeated uses of the N-word,
Come on, how about a good old nigger work song?
and that scene where several cowboys gather around a campfire and fart their assholes off. For anyone unfamiliar with the film, one of those things that I just listed may seem a little out of place for a comedy movie, so I should probably address that.
The fart scene?
The N-word. So you've actually not seen Blazing Saddles, have you? We're not just doing this for the sake of it, right? So it makes it good for me to explain to Brad and to people watching at home. Basically, actor Cleveland Little plays a black sheriff in the context of the film, and the uses of the N-word are directed almost exclusively at him by white characters.
Is that not like really offensive?
It would have been probably in the hands of a less talented comedian, but Brooks had Richard Pryor on hand to help him write the screenplay, and he had Little overlook the script as well, and every use of the N-word in the script was like approved by both Pryor and Little. And obviously Pryor's famous for like his racially charged humour and drawing attention to that sort of thing. So he's probably the best authority to have when it's like, I want to use the N-word in my script. Richard Pryor, guy who's famous for using it in his comedic sets, what do you think? And he went, oh yeah, that'd work.
Why were they using it?
Well, Brooks wanted to draw attention to the fact that he found it absurd that all these old movies about cowboys basically glossed over the fact the Old West was super racist. And he was just trying to draw attention to that, like, this is what it would be like if you made a realistic movie with a black cowboy in it. It's like, people would talk to him like this because that's how people were back then.
Isn't it a lovely morning?
Up yours, nigger.
If they're all really racist, how is he in a position of power?
Well, that's supposed to be the joke.
Oh, right.
It's like they say, oh, we've got a new sheriff coming to town. Oh, he's black.
It is my privilege to extend a laurel and hearty handshake to our new nigger.
So there's a really great scene, one of my favourite scenes in the entire movie, where they just they play so much with like racial humour and it's handled so well. But there's like some KKK members, because the film's not entirely historically accurate, and Gene Wilder holds up Little and goes to lure over some KKK members to steal their robes, and Little just goes, where the white women at?
Hey, boys! Look what I got here! Hey, where are the white women at?
And the KKK members run over and they beat them up and steal their outfits. And then when obviously Little's signing up for this thing, they see that he's got black hands. They go, oh no, he got a little bit of soot on him from the cross burning earlier today.
How many times have I told you to wash up after weekly cross burning? See, it's coming off.
A less talented comedian, that could come off as really crass and really offensive, but obviously this is Mel Brooks and Richard Pryor working together. It's like, fucking beautiful. It's so well done.
So did they not get any complaints then?
They got a lot of complaints, but mostly they were from white people. According to Brooks, he got loads of letters from black fans saying they found it hilarious and they were praising him for basically a really sensitive handling of what in the hands of a lesser comedian could come off as crass and offensive. And the only people who really complained were white people who were taking offence for black people who found it hilarious and realised like why it was in the film. They understood that this is being used to draw attention to this absurdity of we making these Wild West movies, mythologising cowboys, making them seem like paragons of justice and virtue. And they were probably just racist assholes who probably would treat a guy like this in this way and not think anything about it.
What if me and the boys was to shoot that nigger dead? Would that pep you up some? That might help.
It's not being used for shock value, it's being used, like I said, to highlight this absurd idea that, oh no, people back then weren't racist. We've got all these cowboy movies and all the people in it are super nice. It's like, no, it's supposed to be a swipe at that and to highlight, yeah, these people probably were pieces of shit. And it's supposed to make you think, and that's what good comedy does. There's no topic that should ever be off limits in comedy as long as it's handled by a suitably talented comedian.
Sir, he specifically requested 2 niggers. Well, to tell a family secret, my grandmother was Dutch.
I think we should probably get back to the farts.
Yeah, we should definitely get back to the farts, 'cause that's obviously the most pressing issue here. Brooks was similarly worried that the farts in the film would cause offence, and he was worried that having so many cases of audible flatulence in a single scene would cause people to complain. Then he realised, fuck that noise, I've got absolute creative control over everything in this film. So, do you know what he did?
What did he do?
He told the audio sound mixers, make the farts even louder. And in my head, they turn it over and there's like a little dial that just says farts on it. And they turn it all the way up and it goes to 11 and then it goes to 12. And then he opens up a little panel and he goes even further and he goes, boom!
So are the farts actually essential to the film?
To Brooks, they were, yes. Like his use of the N-word, which he wanted to include as to highlight that older films tend to gloss over the fact like the Wild West was probably kind of racist. He wanted to put the scene with the farts in because he was so pissed off that so many old cowboy movies showed them eating beans, but never the aftermath of what an all-bean diet does to a human colon.
You eat that many beans and you have a lot of black coffee, you're not going to be good company in about 20 minutes, you know. An hour later, that place is going to be unlivable.
So to him, this scene was integral to the film. He needed to be in there to show people cowboys probably farted a lot. And they were racist, but mostly they farted a lot. The scene went on to become one of the film's most iconic, which posed a problem for TV stations when they acquired the rights to air it themselves a few years later. You see, if they cut the scene wholesale, they'd upset fans. However, leaving it in uncensored could potentially upset people watching at home of a more sensitive disposition. Read helicopter parents with nothing really better to do other than complain. So they were stuck between a farting rock and a hard place.
So what did they do?
Right. You're not going to believe me when I say this. To try and get the best of both worlds, they didn't cut the scene and they didn't remove any of the farts. Instead, what they did is they simply muted every audible example of flatulence in the scene. So basically, instead of the people farting, it instead looked like they were now silently shitting out their insides in agony. Because instead of someone just letting off like a nice fart to eat some beans, it's just images of people in complete silence, in obvious pain going, and that, I think, is worse somehow. Because a person farting, you think, oh, he's just letting some gas out. When you see someone in complete silence, struggling to move while lifting up one leg, you think, is this guy dying? Is this supposed to be poignant? Is this like a war film when a grenade goes off and you lose all your hearing? Are these people, they just injured so much the blood vessels exploding in their ears? Clips of this don't exist because there's no recordings made from those TV broadcasts. What do you think would have been a worse thing? Like, because I think making it silent is the absolute worst thing they could have done. Because it just makes it look, one, it's really obnoxious and it's noticeable that it's been edited. And two, obviously it makes the cowboys look like they're like silently shitting their insides out. I think they should replace every fart with like a smaller fart. Not like a loud rip-roaring one that like moves cushions or anything like that. They should have just done one like just like toot. Like, not like proper cushion creeper. I think it's gunshots. Howitzer launchers. So what do you think would have been the funniest thing to replace the sound of those farts with?
The N-word.
Every time someone farts, they're just farting out racial slurs. But that's not too far away from what they did because, and this is true again, while they muted every audible example of flatulence out of fear they would offend somebody, every uncensored use of the N-word was left in the film completely intact. So I guess that's probably a victory for social progress, I think. Is it a victory? I don't know. I actually don't know what the answer to that question is. Like, they muted farts for being offensive, but uncensored use of the N-word directed directly at a black person, totally fine. People are going to get offended by this, but not by this. So did they understand that people would understand why this word's used in the film, but not why the farts were in there?
They are so dumb.
Let's have a nice, clean, generic like, comment, subscribe.
Okay, so hi guys, I really hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, why not leave a like, or a comment, or subscribe for more content like this. But I don't get why people say fart jokes aren't funny. Fart, an interview with one Leslie Nielsen. And according to him, fart jokes are the funniest fucking thing in the world. And you know what? I agree. Because you will see a lot of movies where they use fart jokes in a late. Leslie Nielsen showed me that farts can be used to enhance this little device. I'm not sure what it was. It was basically, you squeezed it and it was like made of rubber and it squeezed out air and made a fart noise. And he fucking loved that. It's really nice to be in the UK.
I'm well-mannered and, you know, I have to protect that image when I'm don't you think?
Sounds a great film too. Sounds a great film to work on.
And he said that was his favourite thing to do. And there's quotes from people who used to work with him who say like, yeah, what Leslie would do is he'd walk over to you and he's standing leaning against a wall and he'd go, wow, the stars tonight really make you think about, you know, life in the universe and what a place and all of it is. And they would say we'd just fucking crease and Leslie would just go, I don't know why you're laughing, it's really serious.
Pun is supposed to be the lowest form of humor. There's only one other that I know of.
Amazing.
Oh, I will do almost anything I can for a laugh.
Like he comes on, he sits down, goes, oh sorry, I had the salmon this morning. The person's just creasing, and I'm really sorry, Mr. Nielsen, because it's quite all right, and just looks him dead in the eye, and they're just like, comedians. I want good comedians to put fart jokes in movies to bring back. Farts are hilarious, and I think they get a bad rap. The comedy of the scene.